Mr. President, sir, I beg to move this Constituent Assembly declares its firm and solemn resolve to proclaim India as an independent sovereign republic and to draw up for her future governance a constitution wherein the territories that now comprise British India, the territories that now form the Indian states, and such other parts of India as are outside British India and the states, as well as such other territories as are willing to be constituted into the independent sovereign India, shall be a union of them all, and wherein the said territories, whether with their present boundaries or with such others as may be determined by the Constituent Assembly, and thereafter, according to the law of the Constitution, shall possess and retain the status of autonomous units, together with residuary powers, and exercise all powers and functions of government and administration, save and except such powers and functions as are vested in or assigned to the Union, or as are inherent or implied in the Union, or resulting therefrom, and wherein all power and authority of the sovereign independent India, its constituent parts and organs of government are derived from the people, and wherein shall be guaranteed and secured to all the people of India justice, social, economic and political, equality of status, of opportunity and before the law, freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, vocation, association and action, subject to law and public morality, and wherein adequate safeguards shall be provided for minorities, backward and tribal areas, and depressed and other backward classes, and whereby shall be maintained the integrity of the territory of the Republic and its sovereign rights on land, sea and air, according to justice and the law of civilized nations. And this ancient land attain its rightful and honored place in the world and make its full and willing contribution to the promotion of world peace and the welfare of mankind. Sir, it is surely desirable that we should give some indication to ourselves, to those who look to this assembly, to those millions in this country who are looking up to us, and to the world at large, as to what we aim at, what we seek to achieve, whither we are going. It is with this purpose that I have placed this resolution before this House. It is a resolution, and yet it is something much more than a resolution. It is a declaration. It is a firm resolve. It is a pledge and an undertaking, and it is for all of us, I hope, a dedication. Words are magic things often enough, but even the magic of words sometimes cannot convey the magic of the human spirit and of a nation's spirit. And so I cannot say that this resolution at all conveys the passion that lies in the hearts and the minds of the Indian people today. The House knows that there are many absentees here. Many members who have a right to come here have not come. We regret that fact because we should have liked to associate with ourselves as many people as many representatives of as many different parts of India and different groups as possible. I do hope that they will come, and this House in its future stages will have the benefit of the cooperation of all. Meanwhile, there is a duty cast upon us, and that is to bear the absentees in mind, to remember always that we are here not to function for one party or one group, but always to think of India as a whole, always to think of the welfare of the 400 millions that comprise India. We are all in our respective spheres party men belonging to this group or that group, and presumably we shall continue to act in our respective parties. Nevertheless, times come when we have to rise above party and think of the nation, think sometimes of even the world at large, of which our nation is a great part. There is another person who is absent here and who must be in the minds of many of us, as he is in my mind as I stand here today, the great leader of our people, the father of our nation, who has been the architect of all this assembly and all that has gone before it, and possibly of much that will follow. He is not here because in pursuit of his ideals he is ceaselessly working in a far corner of India, but I have no doubt that his spirit hovers over this place and blesses our undertaking. As I stand here, sir, I feel the weight of all manner of things crowding round me. We are at the end of an era, and possibly very soon we shall embark on a new age. And my mind goes back to the great past of India, to the 5,000 years of India's history, from the very dawn of that history, which might be considered almost the dawn of human history, to today. And all this past crowds round me and exhilarates me, and at the same time somewhat oppresses me. Am I worthy of that past? And then I think also of the future, the greater future, I hope, and standing on this sword's edge of the present, between this mighty past and mightier future, I tremble a little and feel overwhelmed with this mighty task. I think also, because this is a constituent assembly, of the various constituent assemblies that have gone before, of what took place at the making of the great American nation, when the fathers of that nation met and fashioned out a constitution which has stood the test of these many years, more than a century and a half, and of the great nation which has resulted, which has been built up on the basis of that constitution. My mind goes back to that mighty revolution which took place also over 150 years ago, and to that constituent assembly that met in that gracious and lovely city of Paris, which has fought so many battles for freedom, and the difficulties that that Constituent Assembly had, and of how the king and other authorities came in its way, and still it continued. The House will remember that when these difficulties came, and even a lodging and a place for meeting was denied to that Constituent Assembly, they took themselves to an open tennis court and met there and took the oath, which is called the oath of the tennis court, that they would continue meeting in spite of kings, in spite of others, and not disperse till they had finished the great task they had undertaken. Well, I trust that it is in that solemn spirit that we too are meeting here, and that we too, whether we meet in this chamber or other chambers or in the fields or the marketplace, that we shall go on and we will go on meeting and continuing this work till we complete it. And then a more recent revolution which gave rise to a new type of state, the revolution that took place in Russia, and out of which has arisen the Union of Soviet and Socialist Republics, another mighty country which is playing a tremendous part in the world, and not only a mighty country, but for us in India, a neighbor country. And so our mind goes back to all these great examples, and we seek to learn from their successes and to avoid their failures. Perhaps we may not be able to avoid all failures, because some measure of failure is inherent in human effort. Nevertheless, we shall advance, I am certain, and in spite of obstruction and difficulty, achieve and realize the dream that we have dreamt so long. In this resolution, which the House knows has been drafted with exceeding care, we have tried to avoid saying too much or too little. We say that it is our firm and solemn resolve to have a sovereign Indian Republic, an independent sovereign republic. Does anybody doubt that? Anybody in India, to whatever party he might belong? I have yet to come across him. It is bound to be sovereign, it is bound to be independent, and it is bound to be a republic. We have given the content of democracy in this resolution, and not only the content of democracy, but the content, if I may say so, of economic democracy in this resolution. Others might take objection to this resolution on the ground that we have not said that it should be a socialist state. Well, I stand for socialism, and I hope India will stand for socialism, and that India will go towards the constitution of a socialist state. And I do believe that the whole world will have to go that way. What form of socialism again is another matter for your consideration. Therefore, we have laid down not theoretical words and formulae, but rather the content of the thing we desire, which is important, and about which I take it there can be no dispute. Some people have pointed out to me that our mentioning a republic may somewhat displease the rulers of Indian states. It is possible that this may displease them. Our view has been for many years in regard to these Indian states, first of all, that the people of those states must share completely in the freedom to come. It is quite inconceivable to me that there must be different standards and degrees of freedom as between the people in the states and the people outside the states. We are perfectly willing, I take it, to deal in such matters as appertain to them with the rulers or their representatives also. But finally, when we make a constitution of India, it must be through the representatives of the people of the states as of the rest of India who are present here. If a particular state, the people of the state, desire to have a certain form of administration, even though it might be monarchical, it is open to them to have it. The House will remember that even in the British Commonwealth of Nations today, IRA is a republic. And yet, in many ways, it is a member of the British Commonwealth. So, I wish to make it clear that so far as this resolution or this declaration is concerned, it does not interfere in any way with any future work that this Constituent Assembly may do, with any future negotiations that it may undertake. Only in one sense, if you like, it limits our work, if you call that a limitation. That is, we adhere to certain fundamental propositions which are laid down in this declaration. And those fundamental propositions, I do submit, are not controversial in any real sense of the word. Nobody challenges them in India, or nobody ought to challenge them. And if anybody does challenge them, well, we accept that challenge and we hold to our position. We approach the world in a friendly way. We want to make friends with all countries. We want to make friends in spite of the long history of conflict in the past with England also. I hope that the new difficulties that have arisen, or new difficulties have arisen, as everyone knows, because of recent statements made by the British Cabinet and by others in authority there, I hope these difficulties will not come in our way, and that we shall yet succeed in going ahead with the cooperation of all of us here, and even those who have not come. I do not wish to challenge the bona fides of any person, but I do wish to say this, that whatever the legal aspect of a thing might be, there are moments when law is a very feeble reed to rely upon. More especially when you have to deal with a nation which is full of the passion of freedom. Most of us here during these past many years, for a generation or more, have taken part in the struggle for India's freedom. We have gone through the valley of the shadow often enough. We are used to it. And if necessity arises, we shall go through it again. And one of the unfortunate legacies of the past has been that there has been no imagination in the understanding of the Indian problem. People have often indulged in, have presumed to give us good advice to do this or that, not realizing that India, as she is constituted today, wants no one's advice and no one's imposition, and that the only way to influence India is through friendship and cooperation and goodwill. Any element of imposition, the slightest trace of patronage is resented and will be objected to and fought. We have tried, I think honestly enough, in the last few months, in spite of the difficulties that have faced us, to try to create an atmosphere of cooperation. Whether we have to deal with our own countrymen in this country, and we must continue that endeavor, even though, in our opinion, some countrymen of ours take a wrong path. For after all, we have to live together in this country. We have to work together. We have inevitably to cooperate, if not today, then tomorrow or the day after. Therefore, we have to avoid in the present anything which may create a new difficulty for the creation of that future which we are working for. But cooperation cannot mean, and does not, and will not mean the giving up of the fundamental ideals on which we have stood and on which the nation should stand. Because that is not cooperation to achieve something, but just a surrender of everything that has given meaning to our lives. Apart from that, as I said, we seek the cooperation of England, even at this stage, which is full of suspicion of each other. We feel that if that cooperation is denied, that will be injurious to India, certainly to some extent, probably more so to England, and to some extent to the world at large. We live today during a period when, having just come out of a mighty war, people talk vaguely and rather wildly of new wars to come. At such a moment, this new India is taking birth, renascent, vital, fearless. Perhaps it was a suitable moment for this new birth to take place out of this turmoil of the world. But we have to be clear-eyed at this moment, we who have this heavy task of constitution building. We have to think of this tremendous prospect of the present and the greater prospect of the future, and not get lost in seeking small gain for this group or that. In this Constituent Assembly, we are functioning on a stage, on a world stage, and the eyes of the world are upon us. The eyes of the world are upon us. The eyes of all of our entire past are upon us. Our past is witness to what we are doing. And though the future is still unborn, the future too somehow looks at us, I think. And so I would beg of this House to consider this resolution in this mighty prospect of our past, of this present turmoil, of this turmoil of the present, of this great and unborn future that is going to take place soon. Sir, I beg to move.